Hi, it's Tim Patterson, Trade Show guy, and we're discussing trade show marketing on today's Google Hangout with the creative marketing director, Zach Anderson from Kentucky's Rooibee Red Tea.
So, what shows do you attend, and how often do you get to shows on a yearly basis? Let's start there.
Usually, we definitely take in expos, and then usually healthy beverage. A lot of things that we are doing now and forward is trying to connect more with kind of influencers and whatnot, bloggers and such. We had a big presence at Blogger Bash in New York City, which was a mommy blogger event where they showcased new products, kids' toys, that kind of stuff. We launched and wanted to connect with some of these influencers and mommy bloggers that actually for the launch of our kids' product, which is Rooibee Roo, which is a naturally caffeine-free, organic bottled red tea for children. So it was a good response, and they were able to connect with our parent line and then also our kids line as well.
So, what are your goals for the shows? And I would presume they vary from show to show. So, let's start with Expo. What do you want to walk away from that show with?
Obviously, the great thing about Expo West is getting straight in front of buyers and decision makers as far as actual retail outlets. We love to bring more of a presence to understand what our unique product is. So the biggest part of us being that we are the original full line of bottled, ready-to-drink rooibos tea. We are able to then kind of educate the decision makers when it comes to actually getting the buyers or distributors to kind of sign on to our product. Experience it on a grander scale of doing samplings and tastings, and then also connect with us personally and understanding our growth and what we've been able to do with our still small but big reach brand that we've been able to cultivate.
And the company's been together how long at this point?
The company was founded in 2009.
Okay, so
our current CEO, Heather Howe, came on in 2010, and since she's been on board, we've actually seen 554% growth.
Nice.
And so we've grown from a small farmers market brand to now being nationally distributed. We are in Google's micro kitchens. We've won countless awards for our product and also just kind of our business and leadership and whatnot as well. So we've been able to do a lot of great things in that short amount of time.
So what do you do? Obviously, there's a lot of competition in teas. There's a lot of companies out there, a lot of small companies like yours as well as the larger players. What do you do to differentiate what your product is about versus the others? How do you educate people? Just trying it, or is there more to it?
We definitely like to bring people in first on a taste profile. Our watermelon mint has been the first place winner of the National Tea Camp competition. And our other five flavors completely connect with an array of consumers. We've got vanilla chai, we've got pomegranates, cranberry, peach, watermelon mint, and then also an unsweet. Our biggest thing is education along with actually the taste profile as well. Red tea itself has 1.5 times as many antioxidants as a green or black tea, which kind of puts us apart in really establishing a healthy product. We're 100% USDA certified organic, and the biggest thing is that we're naturally caffeine free as well. So what stands us apart from other brands as far as within the tea category is that our product has to go through absolutely no chemical process to actually remove the caffeine from it, along with still adding and being able to hold on to the positive antioxidants and whatnot that are already attributes of red tea to begin with.
So on your other shows that you go to besides Expo, you said the Blogger Bash. I think you mentioned healthy beverage. What are your goals there, and how do they differ from, say, the bigger Expo?
With Blogger Bash, we wanted to definitely connect with kind of a modern age of influencers. Our way of being able to really provide a personal connection with people that can be a megaphone for our brand and our focus. The mission that we have within Rooibee Red Tea is to provide a healthy beverage option for all of the country, and at an affordable price level, especially with the kids line. So we want this to be able to be showcased, and by able to be one-on-one with some of these influencers, they don't just simply find a product that they enjoy, they actually are able to connect one-on-one with the people that are behind it as well. So in doing that, we're able to kind of give them an actual authentic authorship of what it takes and what our product is and who's actually behind it. One of the main things from the Blogger Bash, like I said, was connecting with them one-on-one, but it's able to put a face with it so that our messaging actually completely comes from our mouths, and then they're able to actually feel like they're part of our journey as well, which I think some companies get away from, of just simply being like, well, I've got the product, and there it is. It's good. You should have it. But in all actuality, more coming back to the point of understanding why it is that we do what we do. And again, Heather, it was her dream and mission to create the kids line when she actually first came on board. It's been about 3 to 4 years in the making, but all in all, it came to realization, and it was because she was a mother and someone that was health conscious and wanting to provide her children with healthy options. Seeing that this was a great fit, and that's kind of, we want to be able to, again, show that story and connect one-on-one with these people.
So it sounds like, I was just going to say that your story is very important to you guys.
Yes.
As a lot of companies, others really don't, they kind of downplay it, but that sounds like a big part of what your outreach is. So does that come into play in the booths a little bit?
Absolutely. I've been the first time that the brand or the company as a whole went to Expo West. They went there kind of as their first exposure to a bigger scale food expo like that. The second year that they went, I came on and just kind of a consulting state to help them kind of polish up a little bit. One of the first things that we did, because like I said, we are a Rooibee tea, so it's a red Rooibee-based tea, which is only grown in South Africa. So we actually import that element from South Africa to the States. Here, we're Kentucky proud product, bottled and brewed here in Kentucky. And so that aspect comes in, but we wanted to be sure and showcase that long heritage of the product itself. So one of the first big elements that I did for their first exposure at Expo West was we actually tea dyed their foam floor. It was white and had actually Africa as a huge tea dyed watermark for the brand. Kind of, again, instilling the fact that our roots of the tea are completely based in Africa. We're a local American-made product, but this is something exotic. We want to have kind of that rustic roots kind of come through, and when we kind of project ourselves, especially at these food shows and whatnot.
So how big is the booth that you take to Expo these days?
We have only played in a 10 by 10 space.
Okay.
This is the only that we ever do.
This
last year we did the same 10 by 10 space and actually showcased both products. Our full line, which is 8 different SKUs and different product placements. So there was a lot to showcase, but it was a nice, all-encompassing display of our kind of portfolio of products.
Now, I would presume as the company grows, at some point you might say you need a bigger footprint at those. Is that something you guys have talked about, or is that you're just going to wait for it to evolve out of the company's growth?
I think that is definitely a conversation that is possible. However, in our kind of experience, we've got it kind of down to a science. We've got our main players that have experience, within the company as far as being present at the food shows and whatnot, being able to be one-on-one, understanding that maybe it's not necessarily a bigger booth that makes the bigger impact. This last year, we had both of the products. The kids line have their own kind of unique characters attached to each one of the flavors, so they kind of took over the booth, if you will, and made their presence known in it. We still had the same African tea-dyed floor. We took our kind of big branded element. Our trademark is our acacia tree. It's kind of our big brand stamp of what it is to be a Ruby Red product. And that was blown up to be a full-size tree that actually anchored the corner of the booth. So there was a lot going on within our 10 by 10 space. So I think it's more of asking yourself, how can I make a bigger impact with the space that I have? Right. Is expanding the presence and spreading your arms further what are you doing that's actually going to make and display your story or the connection there better utilized? Because I think one of the things that might be a problem with some other people that feel they might need a bigger space is that then you look a little bit too sparse. So it's like, what is it that is actually in the space? It's not just simply the fact that you're going to have bodies in the space or more presence in the space, but is everything being utilized to its actual full potential of making that investment? Because these food shows are an investment, especially with some of these independent brands and whatnot. They're definitely, a big push for us. So.
And you've got 100 square feet, and you got to make use of every square foot you got there.
Exactly. That's why it's like, if I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to use the floor to tell something. I'm going to do whatever I can to display what it means to, be proud of our product and whatnot.
So how much does pre-show planning and preparation come into play as far as marketing to get people to your booth? Obviously, there's that element. And then what about each time you go to the show, what kind of planning do you do as far as your staff, for instance? So it's kind of a two-pronged question there.
We've got two different elements that come into play with that. You've got kind of the design element that goes into the actual booth itself. We look at how have we grown or progressed, what is the evolution of our brand, and what do we want to really display within the booth once we're there. So, for instance, this last year, it was the first time that we really displayed an actual Rooibee field. So instead of just having our logo on the back of the booth wall, we said, let's actually give them a little bit more connection to what it means to actually have a red tea that they're drinking right now. So the back wall was then completely just a picture of a field. And then we had our trademark acacia tree. That was a big statement there. So the design elements obviously take a big part of that. We look at as far as staffing the events and whatnot. It comes down to who are going to be our main people that we want in front of these buyers or these decision makers. So it comes down to, obviously, our CEO goes, our operations and finance director as far as understanding pipeline and sales channels and whatnot, our personal sales director. This will probably be the first year that I will probably go. However, I usually send somebody that I've educated on how to put the booth together and whatnot. And then we have our cornerstone of it all, which is one of our in-office employees that's actually facilitating all of the actual sampling of the product, because all the people that are coming and going through your booth and whatnot, you've got to make sure that you are able to connect with the people that are most important to actually making and delivering your story without losing the interaction of actually the product being experienced by all the passer-goers and everything there. So you got to make sure that your spread is big enough without losing any opportunities. But then at the same point, you don't just want to simply hire a intern on the West Coast just to simply be like, hey, you need to give out tea, and not actually have a connection to the brand.
Right. So what about, do you do any pre-show marketing to get specific groups or specific audience to the show, like through email or direct mail, anything like that? You guys get into that?
There is a little bit of that. This year we'll have a whole different push with all of that. Just really kind of putting the seed in the mind before we get there. Like I said, we've had some great coverage and some great growth, and so we want to make sure that the people that we feel would connect with our brand really want to know that we're going to have a presence there, and also be available to experience us in a full rounded, educational, and also experiencing the actual product itself, but understanding that we're there to connect one-on-one. Just as much as I said with the blogger interaction that we want to connect one-on-one, we want our buyers to kind of join our team and come on board and say, this is a product that has a story and has a great benefit to it, and that they understand it. So they get, this year we'll probably do a little bit of push of some pre-education on the product and understanding that this is something that they want to explore, and giving us be more of kind of a location to seek out, if you will.
Do you specifically do, for instance, outreach to media for public relations purposes to try and get some writers, authors, bloggers, maybe industry reporters to come by?
As far as that's concerned, we do we talk with them more on a social aspect with some of them. Our PR is more to connect with actual consumers and whatnot. We obviously have been in the past and still are featured plenty on BetNet, and if you want to follow our story, anything that we put out usually gets picked up. the beauty of BevNet in itself. But there isn't so much necessarily a connection there. We like for our story to kind of be explored a little bit more organically. We want to give them a reason to explore us, and not just completely going about it in more of kind of a cold call or aspect of, hey, reporter, come by. I'd rather them kind of interact with us and actually be something that is authentic to what our story has been and will be, than just simply, you should come by and give us a write-up.
Right. A couple more things. I'm curious about your post-show follow-up. What kind of things, when you get back to your office, what do you bring back that you need to follow up on, and how does that work?
Obviously, the influx of business cards is huge. Anybody that we've had an interaction with that we know personally one-on-one, we definitely reach out to them and want to continue that conversation. From a company that has a presence there, and then also from, I can only imagine what some of these other attendees experience going from booth to booth to booth. Just kind of the sensory overload that they experience. So I think that is really the big key aspect of anything, really understanding how are you going to follow up and really connect with them again and give them a reason to want to remember you. So whether it's, furthering that conversation, you've got to be really good as far as managing the actual interactions that you've been able to facilitate in that short amount of time, and really try to connect with them, especially with our interaction in New York. All of us had notebooks. I think it is extremely important to actually sit down and go through and say, this is what I connected to this person on, this is the interest of what they have, and not just simply look at them as the end result, but it's only your door to the next step with them of furthering your relationship. Because at the end of the day, with any kind of consumer packaged goods or anybody that is a technology company or anybody that is using a trade show, the end goal is not to just simply get on the shelf. The end goal is to get to the consumer. So your next hurdle is just simply to get in front of the person that is getting you on a shelf. And then this comes back to be a ball in your court of how are you going to facilitate that relationship further to, again, give them a reason for why their consumers want to buy into the same concept that you've been able to get that decision maker to buy into as well.
And one final thing, I'm curious what you guys do for social media engagement during the show and around the show. Irrespective of what you guys do elsewhere, is there any engagement for the show to draw people to let people know that you're at booth such and such, whatever that may be? Do you do anything?
Absolutely. We tweet live from the event. A lot of times there'll be kind of sneak peek things of us building the booth, because I mentioned with this on the phone with you, it's not necessarily something that we simply just go outright and buy. These things have either been done by myself or other people within the company that actually kind of can have a little bit more of a soul to them, if you will, of the process that it took for us to get there, and again, kind of displaying that story. So we definitely like to use our social channels to, again, allow these people that we're going to interact with to understand that they're standing on a hand-painted floor that was facilitated 3 weeks ago, and that we want to be here, and we want this to be a genuine experience for everybody involved, and allows them to connect with us, again, with that entire overarching story of our brand and our growth and everything. So we don't just use these as opportunities to speak about the story of us, how we are getting to that specific show, but we also talk about this is a way that we include our consumer in understanding our full experience. When we went to New York, we actually drove from Kentucky to New York City, and Instagrammed and tweeted and all that kind of stuff the entire way. It was our road trip, and they were along for the ride. So
I've seen that done very effectively before. So that would, I think that's very well. So cool. Anything else that you'd like to add? Is there anything you wish you were doing better in social media or in trade show marketing that you're just like saying, but it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job in a lot of areas.
I think it comes down to the fact that the thing that I'm most proud of is that we definitely are able to connect one-on-one, and people are allowed to come on and not just experience our great product, but really buy into our story and our growth potential and where we've been able to come and where we're planning to go. One of the big things that we like to push is it's not just simply what we have that we want to really display and connect with, but it's more of a reason of why we want to do it. We completely are set out to provide a healthier, great tasting product that's lower in sugar, affordable, connecting with children and in displaying that this is why we do what we do, I think is the bigger push of just simply saying I created a product and you should buy it. So that would be kind of the benefit. The problem that I would see is that just being able to, if you could clone kind of our core group, that would be amazing. That's what I would want to see happen.
Zach, it's been a pleasure learning about your trade show marketing. It's a lot of fun to talk to you, and I wish you well, and I hope to see you at Expo West in March.
By all means, come by. I will provide you with some nice, refreshing Rooibee Red Tea.
Sure
you should
you will.
come by and talk some more.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.